Good morning, YouTube. 8:47 a.m. 6/10/2018. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day at Lake Pomme de Terre. I pause because I normally don't say I'm at Lake Pomme de Terre because I'm a mile from it, right? I'll say something more like the area of Pomme de Terre Lake or Pomme de Terre Lake area. But anyway, I don't know why that got past me and why it became conversational, but it did. So, just looking at this morning, well, not only my little puzzle, I use that kind of as a mental aid for myself figuring things out. But when I figured this latest thing out this morning, I wasn't in front of this. You know, I'm a stogie. I was in the front room in front of TV trying to get a plan on for getting this house a little more organized and cleaned up and this and that. Because I don't like to live in a real mess. But alright, this is about the stepchild again. And I can't really call them flashbacks because they don't seem to me, they might to an observer seem to them like they're flashbacks. So, but maybe they are in a way. I mean, I'm sitting there watching something totally unrelated. And these things will come to me. So, in a way, I guess it could be caused from the TV. The TV, the programming could be causing these slight little flashbacks, which I'm calling some other thing. Like, I was sitting there watching and suddenly thought of, instead of saying, oh, it's a flashback, okay, the technical end of that's got to jive somehow, I'm sure. But okay, I'm in there. And it dawned on me that, and it does piece back with another instance, but not at the same house, how the stepdaughter at one point was griping about having to do house chores. Well, we all had our chores, you know. When we first got them in, I've mentioned this in another video or screencast. There we go with that again, right? I mentioned they had like a month where I didn't ask them to pitch in to help, and they didn't. You know, they didn't offer me, hey, can I give you a hand with dinner, or can I set the table, or, you know, they may have been still in a slight state of shock from the discovery of learning that their dad was actually still alive, which was just another one of many ways John Myers was done dirty, if you ask me. Okay? Who does that kind of thing? Oh, they're dead. We'll sweep that under the rug so we don't have to go there. We don't have to talk about that. I don't have to adult today with that, you know. If I don't, you know, if I label this man as dead, let's look at this a moment. I don't have to adult. I don't have to own up to it. I don't have to bother with the explanation of it. Okay? These things will just trivialize that whole thing. Alright? Which is totally unfair, but okay. We're not going to go there. So, I knew they had come from a lot worse work than what was presented to them as needing done at our house. We didn't live on a farm. We didn't have a bunch of trees to harvest and gardens to, you know, this, that, and the other, tend to and weed all the time and all that. Okay, we had a small garden, yes. But we asked them, both the kids, if that's what they wanted to involve in. And they thought it was a good idea, to have some activity, some movement other than sitting in front of the TV like they were the night I finally told John, how about we get them out here and it's just another family time to have them help us fix salads, At the moment we were making salads. I remember it vividly. So he's like, yeah, okay. I don't see a problem with that. Hey kids, we're making salads. Come on out here. They could be in charge of their salad. What do they want on it, Is it just going to be another big dish of salads? Or are we going to go ahead and, since it's going to end up in salad bowls anyway, we're going to save the big dish and make them in the smaller dishes and, So they came out and they helped. But the main thing were the list of chores. All right? Things that John and I had done before they got there ourselves, but now like the laundry was doubled up and the shopping was doubled up, basically increasing with 2 extra people the need for more of both. Well, not the need of laundry, but the need to wash it. So, okay, I made these lists, and I'd always made lists. List making was nothing new. It was just that now the lists were divided 4 ways instead of 2 ways. So, of course, with the laundry increasing and the food supply increasing, which increased the shopping trips, more milk, more ice cream, more meat. The lists increased in that way from 2 people to 4 people. All right, so mainly I took over the cooking and gave her the dishwashing task. Okay, I didn't get that much help with the cooking because mainly I didn't ask for it. I'm sure if I'd asked for it, I would have gotten that help. But mainly, she made me nervous, and I didn't want her in the kitchen with me. It was just another set of feet to have to not step on like a cat getting up under your feet, and especially in the kitchen, you're needing to move, and I had conditioned myself to work my kitchen myself, not a whole lot of other going on in there. Okay, I was that way like my mom was that way. She was so totally focused. It's not like, hey, bring a gang of people in here. It's going to be a lot better that way. No. Okay. And I didn't find it that difficult to cook for 4 people instead of 2 people. It wasn't that much of a big deal. Okay? Because I was still cooking the same dishes. Alright? Only more of it. So it was no big deal. And maybe not even a whole lot more of it, because a lot of the times we would have leftovers, because I would cook for what would seem like 4 people anyway, and sometimes deliberately, so that there would be leftovers. So at noon, when my mom would come over, excuse me, the next time, wouldn't have to stop and make dinner, just get something out and microwave it, right? Warm it up on the stovetop. So maybe even that didn't exactly what we'd call increase. So, it's just weird, okay? It's weird. But the thing, one of the papers in the files. I'm not sure right now. It was asked about the housework. And she said, Veronica liked that house. How did she put it? Teetotally clean or spotless. I think the word was spotless she used. She likes this house spotless. Well, I did before, except I was doing it. And in case you've never had to farm out your chores, split them off, farm out to another person, it might not come too easy to you, you know. So I broke these different things down in a list. Okay? But we're not dealing with an average person there, okay? She was a little bit more difficult to work with for different reasons. But for me, I would know my day and what had to be done. I wouldn't have to write myself, sweep the floor, check mark, wash the dishes, check mark. These were a part of the conditioning, my program. These things needed done when I did them myself, and I didn't have to list them out. Okay? That was done for her benefit. Alright? So, the gripe would come in. Let's see. I'm going to tie this up. Well, maybe it really wasn't a gripe. Because, oh, I know my thought now from in front of TV. Because she never mentioned, there is no mention of her mentioning that the chores were too much, or that she resented them, or that she wished she didn't really have to do them. Okay? If there had been mention, I would have known it. It would have been to her mother, if not in writing, in person, you know. It would have shown up in the court papers, I'm thinking. Like, well, did you mention to your mother that you thought these chores were too much? Well, yeah, I mentioned to her that these chores are too much. And she just kind of laughed at me and said, well, you're going to have to do them all on your own when you're an old married woman, so you might as well learn it, right? Learn to have a little bit of structure that you wake up to every morning and know, without looking at a list, that this needs done, the next thing needs done, on down the line, right? So, there's no mention of this humongous amount of extra work. And part of the reason why it got to the humongous stage was every time we would disagree on something and she would challenge me, I'd say, okay, I'm not going to argue about this. I'm just going to put another chore on your list. Okay? And maybe by the time you do this chore and the next chore and the next chore, depending on how much you want to challenge me, you'll get it figured out in your head that that's what's going to happen. You challenge me, and I'm going to put it on your list. You can talk to your mother about these things if things are bothering you. You know how to write a letter. You have her address. You know where the stamps are. You know where the post office is. We give you so much slack that you can get to that post office and back in a matter of about 5 minutes, especially if you step it up a bit, because it's only like a block and a half to the mailbox on the side of the post office, and, you know, a couple and a half minutes to return. So, meanwhile, while you're goofing around, not finding anything wrong with the so-called man who's now in prison for another couple of years, well, year and a half, had a 25-year sentence, nothing to find wrong with him, nothing to find wrong with the chores, nothing, until, let's see if we can send her to some kind of boot camp. Blam! The next morning, we got problems at home.